Maldonado, your friendly neighborhood Microsoft SME. I'm coming to you today because I came across an article the other day that HPE was releasing GreenLake, in which it was their cloud services. And I was thinking to myself, how many cloud services do we actually need? Okay, so we know that we have Azure, right? We have AWS and Google Workspace. So I believe that AWS has about 40% of the market share, and Azure, through Microsoft, has 30%. I know that they're not all the same. The rest of the market share goes to the others. Um, I know that platform plays a big part in these. So Azure, obviously, the platform would be Windows, right? And that's one because Microsoft, obviously, is the owner of Windows, but the integration pieces. So prior to Windows 11, we didn't have a operating system that was cloud based or could connect to the cloud. Once Windows 10 introduced that, then obviously Windows 11 and any other subsequent Windows release will have the same. So that means that you have your operating systems that interact with the Azure cloud. You don't really have that with AWS. Now, there are some pros and cons. So GreenLake, I read a little bit into HPE's GreenLake, and I noticed that if you're running HP ProLiant servers, then via software, and because you have the hardware, there are some integrations that can be made. However, HPE does not own the productivity suites that are used around the world. So to me, that's the biggest point because if you look at HPE GreenLake, if you look at AWS, if you look at Google Workspace, those cloud services are basically all SaaSes, right? They're software as a service. Whereas Azure, again, being Microsoft based, it's a Windows platform. So what that gives you is integration to the complete Office suite, right? Not to mention that we have Microsoft 365 now. We've had it for a while. Microsoft Teams, SharePoint Online, and various others. And not just that, but they have released other features, right, and that have enhanced their cloud services. Let's take a look at the collaboration tool, for example, Teams, right? So Teams, it was a tool or is a tool that you can collaborate with team members within your organization, and you can also create workspaces that allow you to connect with outside or external users or guest users. Well, they've just enhanced the features to make those workspaces uh, basically the transition and the collaboration a lot smoother than before. Microsoft is always upping their game on these types of things and features. It's not it won't play well if you have a different operating system, although there are bits and pieces that can be tied together. So for me, my preference would be Microsoft, but I've been in that space for 20 plus years, right? Not just that, but I mean, think of corporations that have Google Workspace, let's say, for instance. And a lot of companies have gone Google and have come back, but even the corporation now, so we're talking about enterprise level, the mid to enterprise level corporations that have gone to Google have not gone completely Google because they still have Microsoft servers, right? Or servers running Microsoft Windows server operating systems because it's an integral part of a lot of businesses. You had a lot of smaller health care clinics, let's just say, maybe like a dental office, something very small, standalone, that they don't have any more than just one site that probably, chose to go Apple or something like that. And I used to see that quite often, even though it made up a small percentage of what enterprises or corporations are out there using. But they did have it. But I noticed they've kind of moved away from that too. And I think what has happened that even with those standalone dentist offices or smaller clinics, I think that they have chosen some sort of healthcare consulting firm that comes in and suggests certain healthcare suites that basically are going to run off Microsoft platforms. That's not to take away from AWS. I think so. I use AWS. I use Microsoft, and I use Google Workspace in my business. So obviously, 80% is Microsoft, and then the rest would go to Google, and then AWS is what I use the least. That's because our business phones, all the recordings are stored on AWS servers, and that was not actually by choice. Our vendor for our VoIP business phones, that's the only option of storing the phone call recordings. Again, the integration piece, you're not going to have that with AWS. You won't have that with Google Workspace. If you use the Google productivity software, it's not a one for one, what I've noticed, right? So we're used to certain features in Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and so on. So again, not a one for one trade off if you go using Google Sheets or Slides or Google Docs. It just isn't. So if you rely on certain formulas, or you rely on certain macros for your Excel spreadsheets, certain features for PowerPoint, it won't be the same. I tried something recently when I was putting together something on Google Slides. It was something very quick I was doing for a client, and I realized that I could not simply just go from sentence case to all caps, or all caps to, make it capitalize the first letter in each word as for a title. And I could do this so easily in Microsoft's productivity suite, but that particular feature, you had to do a whole bunch of workarounds if you're using Google's productivity suite. And, again, I'm not saying one is better than the other, but I do look at what is widely used. So, one other thing I wanted to bring up is, consulting firms wanting to add Google to their repertoire, right? So, most companies are running Microsoft based platforms, right? And Microsoft systems, whether online, on prem, hybrid, any combination of the above. So, to get into the Google space, you have to ask yourself, how many projects have you had in the past 12 months that were big enough to bring on a Google SME, right? Or subject matter expert. So if you haven't had enough, I would say then we may not want to go into that space. Or if you do want to go into that space because there's an opportunity there, then maybe recruit a Google SME, consult with them, and then if you want to move to the next phase and actually put a sales presentation together, have the Google SME help you with that and also help present it. That way, you got a better chance at getting um, that particular opportunity. And I would do it as a build up, right? So, in other words, if we get it, then and it requires 12 resources, then we go out there and get the 12 resources. The 12 resources are not as important because they'll be tech resources. We just need the one SME, right? The one SME will kind of be the maestro or the orchestrator of it. It's the same thing with AWS, even though I think AWS is a little bit more specialized. So even though AWS is global and they're a beast in all they do, and they're very good at a lot of what they do, you but when you want to enter that space, if there is an opportunity, same thing. Get an AWS SME, consult with them, put together a sales presentation, have them be your backup to at least explain the technical parts and pieces that could be delivered to the client, and then take it from there. Again, do a build up. And we do that no matter what the platform is, right? I mean, even with Microsoft projects, if it requires 50 resources, we make sure we probably have a SME already on hand, and then we build it out and get a project manager and put together a business plan once. I'm sorry, a project plan once the resources and the needs have been identified. But I do want to lastly leave you guys with Windows 11. I've been wanting to do something on Windows 11, and I have not. And there was a lot of talk about Windows 11 and how it would put a lot of organizations through many changes because of the hardware requirements. Well, I want to visit that, and I want to visit it in two ways. One, what needs to happen, where if we want to meet the requirements, these are the steps that one needs to take. This is what one needs to look at prior to, and then is there a way of using existing hardware that doesn't exactly meet the requirements, but again, let's look at it like a TPM requirement, right? Is there a way around that TPM requirement? Now, I don't want to get too deep into it now, but again, I want to release something um, that covers that because it's an interesting topic, and I don't hear too many people speaking of Windows 11 and their experiences. So, like, follow, comment. If you have any questions or comments about the cloud wars, please let me know. I think it's very, very interesting that we have yet more competitors entering in the race, no matter if they're only going to soak up 2% of the market share. So, that's all I have for now, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks.